What's going on, guys? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the ASTROLABE, brought to you by King Pilled. This particular episode is brought to you by the King Pilled Discord, private, secret, top secret community, best community on the internet. What's up, Colin Rosh in the chat, David, and Mr. Westford. Mr. Westford, you are the lone man out right now who is not a member of the King Pilled Discord. Oh, there's Pascal, too. I don't think he is. Come on, guys. You got to join up. You got to get with the program. Got to come hang out with the cool kids. Tonight, we will be doing the Schizo stream, and we've actually got it planned out ahead of time today. We're going to be starting off talking about family trees. We're going to be a few of the guys have got got their family trees mapped out, and they're going to come share that. We're going to talk about our heritage and revel in our ancestors, those who came before us. And then we're going to be talking about, I haven't completely decided yet. We might do terrain theory, if we can find some good enough stuff about that, terrain theory versus germ theory. And then as a backup, I have emergence theory, which is an interesting mathematical conception of reality, dealing in multiple dimensions and has very interesting implications. Something I followed for a while. Clee Irwin is the guy behind that. He's what's the name of his brand of supplements? I guarantee you guys have seen him. Let me find this real quick. Mostly because I want to remember. Irwin Naturals, easy enough. Irwin Naturals. They're green bottles. You'd recognize them if you saw them. He's got some really interesting stuff. He's got an organization called Quantum Gravity Research, and they've been doing some weird schizophysics stuff over there. So we've got a few different things to get into with the Schizo stream tonight. That'll be going probably sometime around 8 p.m. Central Time is when we usually get started. And by popular demand, it looks like we're probably going to be moving the Schizo stream to another time during the week. I've been informed by enough people that Friday night is not a good night. So we're going to pick a different one. That is up for debate at this moment. So if you'd like to be a part of that, then sign up at kingpill.com. You can become one of the select few, one of the elite cohort in the King Pill Discord. All right, so today I am I just pulled an all-nighter. I was up all night. I was in the voice chat late last night talking to the guys and playing some Halo. And then I logged off too late, and then got distracted by some work stuff, and then got brainstorming on some things, and then just tried to go to sleep, and had like restless leg, and this just felt all out of sorts. Couldn't sleep. My jaw still kind of hurts from the root canal in the crown. So I wound up, it was, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I hadn't really gotten to sleep, and I was like, you know what? It's going to be a lot easier to stay up than it is to go to sleep and get like 3 or 4 hours of sleep and then try to wake up again. That's not going to happen. So I just powered through, and we're going to rock and roll here. So I may have technically gone live afternoon, but today it is whatever time I want it to be, because I'm going on, what is this? 30 hours of being awake, something like that. Hopefully it will not affect the quality of the show today, but I actually made it pretty easy for myself. I've got a couple good stories here to share, and then the latter half or so of the show is going to be dedicated to a celebration of White Boy Summer. We are big fans of White Boy Summer here, at the King Pilled Show, and we are. Turns out I've got a whole bunch of different videos, primarily a couple little stories of white boys doing awesome shit. So we're gonna run through all of those. But first of all, I want to share with you some of the stuff Robby Starbuck's been doing that we've been keeping up with, and then I got something about techno-fascism that should be, or tech fascism. That's what it is. It's a quote: tech fascism. So first of all, let's get through this Robby Starbuck stuff. Do me a favor and hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube. Go follow me on Twitter at RealKingPilled if you aren't, and hit the retweet on the stream if you would. I just retweeted it, so it should be at the top of the timeline. And we're gonna dive on in here. So we've been following this thing that Robby Starbuck's been up to, where he's doing the Lord's work, ferreting out these Fortune 500 major corporations, and the ones that are where there's a real big brand divergence here, where the type of clientele that they're generally kind of stereotypically pandering to does not remotely match the actual values that are being expressed by the leadership. And this is largely something coming from the top down. So the first one was Tractor Supply, and then John Deere, and then they've been working on Harley Davidson for a little while. So this was this original tweet here was from 3 days ago, August 20th. So was that Tuesday? He said, yesterday I hastily said that we're 3 for 3 on changing corporate behavior. I was wrong. We're actually 5 for 3. When we exposed Harley, both Indian Motorcycle and the Polaris brand removed DEI before Harley-Davidson issued their reversal. I expect similar results going forward. And he's got a little snippet here from Bloomberg. It says, Polaris, which produces the Harley competitor Indian Motorcycle, removed references to DEI from its web pages this month as, quote, the phrase DE&I has evolved from a general term into something increasingly politicized with varying interpretations, the company said in a statement. Originally, it was just a general term. People just kind of came up with it. It was nothing in particular, just DEI, just diversity, equity, inclusion, nothing really. It's kind of generic, but now it's politicized. So we have to distance ourselves from it. Be as cynical as you want about it. This is very good stuff. I hesitate to call it a win just because it seems like every time you say something is a win, you got the autists out there who are will feel compelled to have to explain to you why actually this hasn't magically ushered us into utopia. And yes, that is not the standard of a win. A win is not a thing that magically snaps our fingers and ushers us into utopia. A win is any time that good things happen for our people and bad things happen for our enemies. In this case, those who are seeking to infiltrate the major American companies and sow the seeds of satanic communism and degeneracy, they're getting BTFO'd. They are on the scramble, and it's good. Let's keep this up. We need more Robby Starbucks. I'm sure he's hiring. I'm sure he needs more legwork for ferreting out these sorts of things, and perhaps he needs some copycats. That'd be great. And actually, the news is even better than this, because this was the good news that he tweeted in the morning on August 20th, and then in the evening on August 21st, the next day, he said this: big news. The next company we were set to expose was Jack Daniels. They must have been tipped off by us going through employee LinkedIn pages. They just preemptively announced that they'll be making these changes. 1, ending participation in the, I think that's the Human Rights Council's Corporate Equality Index social credit system. 2, they're ending executive plus employee bonuses and goals that are tied to business performance, not DEI. Or sorry, they're not eliminating that. They are saying that executive and employee bonuses and goals are going to be tied to business performance, not DEI. And they are ending, quote, quantitative workforce and supplier diversity ambitions. And lastly, they're cutting woke trainings. This is the full email from Brown-Forman, their parent company, and a screenshot of one of the multiple folders we have on them. Overall, we had well over 15 gigabytes of files, photos, and videos. We're now forcing multi-billion-dollar organizations to change their policies without even posting, just from fear they have of being the next company that we expose. We are winning, and one by one, we will bring sanity back to corporate America. If you love what we're doing, subscribe to my X page for $5 a month to help fund our growing team. If you want to expose your woke workplace, send tips and the evidence to eliminateDEI@protonmail.com. So this is the statement that was issued. This looks like an email sent out from the executive leadership team at Brown-Forman. Subject line is Evolving Diversity and Inclusion at Brown-Forman. Dear colleagues, Brown-Forman was founded more than 150 years ago on the promise of delivering, quote, nothing better in the market. That's a very odd way to phrase that. We were founded on the promise of delivering nothing better in the market. Like, it's their slogan, but if you had a competent PR person, they would be like, you probably don't want to phrase it that way. This enduring promise, coupled with our core values of integrity, respect, trust, teamwork, and excellence, has enabled us to build some of the world's most iconic spirits brands and cultivate a culture of inclusion. We remain true to this promise today and fundamentally believe we are better together. We also believe that to better reach consumers from Louisville to London, from Sao Paulo to Sydney, and everywhere in between, we must include different perspectives and experiences in our decisions and ways of working. For these reasons and more, we launched our diversity and inclusion strategy in 2019. Since then, the world has evolved, our business has changed, and the legal and external landscape has shifted dramatically, particularly within the United States. With these new dynamics at play, we must adjust our work to ensure it continues to drive business results while appropriately recognizing the current environment in which we find ourselves. This evolution began in January. Oh, did it? Yes, I'm sure. Yes, it began in January with the launch of a new strategic framework, and today we wanted to share the next step in our work. First, we believe we must make some changes to account for the ever-changing landscape. This includes, and then lists off all of the things that he mentioned. More important, however, is what will not change. We will continue to foster an inclusive work environment where everyone is welcomed, respected, and able to bring their best self to work. We will continue to offer employee resource groups to all employees as a place for professional development, education, mentorship, and networking. And we will continue to reinforce our shared responsibility for building a global Brown-Forman team that reflects the many customers and geographies we serve. We know it will not be easy to navigate the road ahead. Oh, yes. It's going to be difficult. But please know our deep belief in and respect for each of you remains constant. Like, the cynicism is just dripping off of this. We're abandoning your special little project because it got a little too hot, but we really believe in it. We are continually inspired by your passion for our brands, your dedication to our business, and most importantly, your care for each other. It is because of you that we will continue to deliver nothing better in the market today and for generations to come. My God. We will deliver nothing better in the market. How do you write that? Sound it out in your head and say, wait a second, that maybe that's our slogan, but we need to come up with a better way to deliver that slogan. So it doesn't make it sound like we're saying we don't deliver anything better in the market. So this is their file folder for Jack Daniels. Shout out to Robby Starbuck. Someone said, does anyone follow up with these companies to see if they're truly doing the things they say they're doing? And he said, we have sources in every company we expose. So if you work at a company and you want to make a dent, then send tips and evidence to eliminatedei@protonmail.com. And I'll note that they say here that they are, where was it? They said, was it on this one? Yeah, we will continue to offer employee resource groups to all employees as a place for professional development, education, mentorship, and networking. It'd be very interesting to see if any of the loyal listeners of the ASTROLABE work at any of these companies or any other ones, if they could, if they happen to have, I don't know, the motivation to create an employee resource group for white guys, or for white people, or for men, or for Christians. Try poking on one of those little ones there and test the resolve of these companies. If you don't put yourself in unnecessary professional danger, I suppose. But it'd be very interesting to see if how far we can push this line. See how true they actually are to their promises to supply these employee resource groups to everyone equally. Douglas Charles says, to be fair to Jack Daniels, Kamala Harris is their largest consumer of their product, just skating to where the soccer bat is going to be. That's really good. Okay. So now, tech fascism. Dun, dun, dun. Someone posted, I thought this was an elaborate troll at first, and I after digging in a little bit, as I'm going to show you guys here, I think it's actually sincere. Tech billionaires are leading a movement to build their own fascist nation state. Tech fascism. Colonize new settlements in Latin America and Africa. Weaponize killer robots in hundreds of weapons startups. Capitalize, gain control of the global economy with crypto. Based, I say. Tech fascists are building their own state. It is called the network state. Oh, no. Balaji Srinivasan, the fascist. Colonial expansion in the global south. Settlements in Latin America, Africa, the Mediterranean, and the Philippines. Conducting medical experiments and operating under their own laws. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine setting up shop in the global south and conducting medical experiments and operating under your own laws? Who would do such a thing? I can't even fathom. It's not like there's a major charitable organization that's very well known for doing precisely this. Dozens of AI weapon startups accelerating war machines with fleets of weapon startups, including lethal AI, missiles, warplanes, and drone swarms. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I need to start opening these on my phone and just reading them there so I can actually see them. Their own sovereign financial system, fueling the growth of their fascist state, and their affiliations with fascist world leaders. Oh, goodness. Okay, so we got to stop the network state. Well, what's this network state all about, I wonder? So we can imagine in your mind's eye that we've scanned the QR code here, and this is what it's opened up. Tech Fascism at tech-fascism.com/intro.html. We have Tech Fascism. Billionaires control what you see about tech, and the media is covering up the rise of tech fascism. Today, tech billionaires and venture capitalists openly purport fascism. That's not what purport means. Race science, eugenics, dictatorship, militarization, and corporatism. Violent anti-leftist rhetoric, extreme nationalization, racism, and misogyny spews from the machine. Get me all hot and bothered. Tech fascists seek authoritarian power through AI, cryptocurrency, and hundreds of surveillance and lethal weapon startups. Sassism. Very well done there, Ryan Isaac. AI weapons are being used in the genocide of Palestinians as tech fascists stand in solidarity with Israel and attack student protesters. Tech fascists are backing Trump in the upcoming election, as well as fascist politicians in Latin America. Twitter, a platform of so many movements, the Arab Spring, Ferguson, #MeToo, has been captured and turned into a fascist stronghold. What do all these things have in common, I wonder? Now, tech billionaires are trying to establish their own sovereign nation. If they're successful, they will become a fascist superpower. Their new nation is called the Network State, and it is already in production. That's what this... I'm not going to read this one. We're going to read a different one. But Daily Beast, the new... Oh, fuck off with your ad blocker. I wonder if I can get back here fast enough to read the headline. The new VC idea that surely won't backfire. Colonies of tech bros. I love it when they seethe. Okay. Next. Colonize. Tech billionaires are building the network state by establishing many cities around the world, especially in the global south. They have locations in Honduras, Nigeria, the Philippines, and multiple locations in Africa. From these sites, they are conducting unregulated medical experiments, building colonies with full-time citizens, erecting buildings, issuing visas, and registering thousands of startups. The network state is not a plan, it is already here. These U.S. venture capital-backed zones are not only operating outside of the host country's regulatory framework, but in some cases already hold complete sovereignty and are not obligated to the laws or regulations of any nation. Their colonies exploit special economic zones. I wonder why those special economic zones exist. Man, what do you do with them if you're not exploiting them? Areas inside a country that operate outside of the host country's laws and regulations. These zones offer incentives for foreign investment and technological development. Here are some of the crypto and tech cities that are already operating. I wonder if Whitney Webb wrote this. The most advanced colonial settlement to date is Prospera on the island of Roatan in Honduras. Their colony operates with cryptocurrency and lies next door to Crawfish Rock, a multi-generational community that has been fighting the colonial invasion. Moneyed crypto and tech tourists swarm the island. Prospera houses experimental medical facilities that specialize in high-risk treatments to extend human life. These experiments have been shunned by medical professionals and scientists for its consent-based treatments and severe lack of oversight in their operations. Can you believe it? Can you believe that they use consent-based treatments? Unbelievable. The medical community in Honduras is in an uproar. Does Honduras have a medical community? Is this like, are like the shamans dancing extra mad or something? Honduras is working to expel Prospera as a threat to their sovereignty and people, but Prospera is now suing the country for $11 billion as it continues to build out its colonies. They're also building another site on the island, which will leave most of the island sandwiched between their settlements. Oh my God, they're going to be sandwiched! Prospera also has a site on the Honduran mainland, and recently they announced plans to build similar sites in Africa. Praxis Nation is closing in on a territory in the Mediterranean to build their sovereign city. As of May 15, 2024, Praxis has received over $19 million from investors and has 132 companies registered. I mean, the whole point of reading all of this is like massive white pill. Like, they're very helpfully delivering to us exactly what's going on. They're already issuing visas with 2,195 steel visa holding citizens. Praxis highlights the network state model of moving from online communities into the acquisition of land and the building of city infrastructure. Oh my God, they're going to build city infrastructure? The criminals! Praxis is the most explicitly fascist of the sites. A Mother Jones profile describes the Praxis CEO, quote, who former employees said is interested in fascist authors and occultism and has touted a book that argues black people are intellectually inferior to whites, close quote. A CEO whose, quote, worldview and ideal governance is authoritarian fascism without religion, and instead the state party is holding everything together, close quote. PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel has funded Praxis events in New York City. Other investors include Sam Altman. Now we are going to read this article from Mother Jones. A Peter Thiel-linked startup is courting New York scenesters and plotting a libertarian paradise. Oh, man. Isn't it scary when the libertarians start plotting, you guys? The Praxis Society envisions a Mediterranean enclave with just the right kind of people. Oh, what a cute little turn of phrase. Allie Breland. This is from September 7, 2023, almost a year ago. All right, I'm going to drop the voice. Earlier this summer, I showed up uninvited to a Midtown Manhattan music venue where a startup named the Praxis Society was holding an event as part of a week-long series to promote its flagship product. A free-market Mediterranean city-state the company hopes to build under the leadership of a CEO who, former employees said, is interested in fascist authors and occultism and has touted a book that argues black people are intellectually inferior to whites. I assumed I might get turned away, but after glancing at my ID, a security guard waved me inside. Oh, man. I didn't even think they would let me in. Oh, I was snuck in there, undercover. A security guard waved me inside, where Zoomers and young millennials made up most of the thin crowd, and underground drill rappers performed for the mostly half-interested and mostly white audience. I heard Peter Thiel is funding this, a guest in a camo hat told me with wide eyes. The right-wing billionaire's name kept coming up throughout the night. Indeed, he does have a connection to Praxis. A Thiel-backed venture capital fund, along with a group of investors with ties to the PayPal co-founder, have poured millions into the Quixotic project. Guests also kept mentioning the downtown scene, the collection of edgy, anti-woke podcasters, substackers, and influencers who share a belief that resistance-style liberalism and everything downstream of it is passé. It's this crowd that Praxis, which spends lavishly on throwing parties, has courted as it attempts to attract members to buy in, sometimes literally, to its utopian crypto city vision. Praxis, a for-profit corporation, was founded as Blue Book Cities in 2019 by Californian Dryden Brown and former Boston College wide receiver Charlie Callanan. They envisioned an autonomous enclave where the free market dreams of Chicago and Austrian school economists would become reality, a place where libertarians could settle without the tyranny of regulation. While the project draws inspiration from ancient Greece and Rome, Brown, the company's CEO, said in a 2021 interview that its style would be hero-futurism, with a, quote, neo-Gilded Age kind of aesthetic. If this sounds like fantasy, it probably is, but it's one that's captured the minds of real, and really rich, people. In 2021, the company's seed round raised roughly $4 million, including from Pronomos Capital. That's a very interesting company to keep an eye on. Pronomos Capital. A libertarian city-building fund started in 2019 with significant financial backing from Thiel. Other participants included Thiel's close friend Balaji Srinivasan, Joe Lonsdale, who co-founded the analytics and intelligence company Palantir Technologies with Thiel, and Bedrock Capital, a fund launched by a former partner in Thiel's Founders Fund. This is like taking me back to 8 or 9 months ago or whenever it was that I first started digging into all of these guys and started seeing all these names for the first time. read a bunch of long think pieces about this that these pants on fire libs had written about these guys who were honestly kind of nerdy. But this is basically what it's like. Once you start digging into this world, it's just this company is connected to this guy who was invested in this one, and they're all interconnected with one another. And Peter Thiel is like 2 or 3 degrees from everyone. Praxis followed up several months later with a Series A round that brought in $15 million, much of it from cryptocurrency investors, including Three Arrows Capital and Sam Bankman-Fried's Alameda Research, which both later spectacularly imploded. Emergent Ventures, another Thiel-backed fund led by economist Tyler Cowen and housed at George Mason University's Cook-supported Mercatus Center, has also invested. From Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged to New Hampshire's Free State Project, libertarians have long fantasized about creating their own self-governed polities. In 2008, the nerds want to go off and do their own thing together. No, that can't happen. We must chase them to the ends of the world. Don't let the nerds do whatever they want to do. The Longhouse must intervene when the nerds get going. In 2008, Thiel put up money to start the Seasetting Institute, which aimed to create artificial island-based cities outside the reach of government. Its founding director, Patry Friedman, an anarcho-capitalist who is the grandson of economist Milton Friedman, runs Pronomos Capital. By bankrolling Praxis, Pronomos and the other Thiel-allied investors are taking a fresh step toward that Randian reverie of exit. The idea that citizens should be free to leave and enter countries or even form new ones, generating a free market-like competition that would produce better forms of government. As Bedrock co-founder Jeff Lewis has explained his investment, quote, hopefully we can fix these wonderful, extraordinary Western societies that are quite broken right now. If we can't, some folks would like some options to go exit to. Brown's exact vision remains unclear, and he declined to respond to a detailed list of questions for this story. Thiel also did not respond to a request for comment, but Jeremiah Hall, a Thiel spokesperson, facilitated a brief statement sent by Brown. Quote, there are people who want to tear things down. They lie about us to the press. But Praxis exists to build, and we won't let gossip stop us, Brown wrote. One former Praxis employee told me Brown believes that monarchy is superior to democracy. The horror! Another said his, quote, worldview and ideal governance is authoritarian fascism, without religion, and instead the state party is holding everything together, close quote. Think of a hybrid that would somehow resolve the tension between an all-powerful ruler and Rand's Galt's Gulch. Quote, there are cool people around the world who associate with Dryden Brown, which I'll never understand, the second of those former employees said. Sounds like a seether. I think it's because they just don't spend a lot of time with him and because he's mastered pitching himself as the guy that's building a city. It's not until you dig down into it that you realize this is just a fucking farce. There's no city that's ever going to get built. He raised a bunch of money to boost his own brand. Brown, who is 27, grew up riding waves off Santa Barbara, where his father worked in private equity and owned a 7-bedroom, 6,200 square foot home that recently sold for more than $6.5 million. In 2016, after a brief stint in competitive surfing, Brown enrolled at New York University, but dropped out within the year and experienced bracketed by junior roles in finance. Brown had been captivated by seasteading as a teen, and in 2019, he and Callanan, who had worked together at an investment advisory firm, visited Africa to explore the idea of building a city. There, Brown wrote on Twitter, they, quote, networked our way into the upper echelons of multiple African governments. I'm sure they did. Brown was roundly mocked. In the words of one critic, the whole continent roasted him like plantain for his neo-colonial presumptuousness. The white boy walks in, he's like, hey, we're going to build a city here. You guys want to be involved? And they're like, ah! He later said he had felt, quote, uncomfortable being a white guy and going and trying to do this real estate project, close quote. But before the close of the year, the pair had nonetheless founded Blue Book, which they later renamed Praxis, a word that means putting theory into practice. Eventually, they shifted their focus to the Mediterranean coast, where the climate, Brown has written, is ideal for productive work. Beyond the company's small group of paying members, how this project, which Brown once estimated would cost $500 million, will make money is unclear. In a 2021 podcast, Brown mentioned property sales, as he further explained in a Medium post, quote, the next Apple might be a city. Manhattan's land is worth more than Amazon. He's also floated selling NFTs of the city's monuments. The Colossus of Rhodes-inspired mock-ups include a statue with two-story bronze ass and another that would straddle the city's port, forcing ships to cross under yards of exposed metal groin. Brown has mastered the tech founder's rhetorical style of describing far-fetched endeavors as inevitable. Quote, sometimes you feel like you have the divine mandate. You feel it like it should work out for you. You're put in the place for a reason. You're given these characteristics for a reason, Brown said on a Praxis podcast. If you hear the call of the frontier, pursue it. That's a great line. If you hear the call of the frontier, pursue it. But regardless of any future success, Praxis has proven to be a tool for Brown to get some of what he wants now. A former employee said the company paid for Brown's $15,000 a month West Village apartment for several months earlier this year, in the hopes it would double as a Praxis event space. According to this source and another former employee, only one such gathering was hosted there. Brown has since moved. Sounds like the dude knows how to navigate tax law. Former staffers describe Brown as being fixated on becoming an icon. Think Kanye West or Elon Musk. Praxis paid for videos, so far unreleased, to build this myth and garner the attention of high-profile cultural figures like West. Two former employees said Praxis spent a mid-five-figure sum for Nico Ballesteros, the rapper's longtime videographer, to film Brown in Northern California. According to a contract with Direct Knowledge, Praxis hired an actor to play an older version of Brown, reflecting on his yet-to-be-accomplished ascent. American History X director Tony Kaye has been paid by the company, according to those two former employees and two other ex-staffers. Brown has publicly boasted they are collaborating on a secret documentary. Kaye did not respond to requests for comment. In January, Praxis flew almost its entire team to a retreat in Italy. The year before, two former employees said, Praxis spent six figures to send a dozen staffers to the Cannes Film Festival, where Brown hosted a party attended by Leon Blavatnik, a Soviet-born businessman who reportedly has had close ties to Russian oligarchs, and Isabel dos Santos, the daughter of Angola's former autocratic president, who was herself sanctioned by the United States in 2021. Quote, nothing came out of it. It was just an excuse for Dryden to seem important, which is really what this whole thing was about, one person on the trip recalled. That source and three other former Praxis staffers said that the company has burned through money under Brown's leadership, and they describe a general culture of dysfunction that has led to high staff turnover. The former employees, along with a review on LinkedIn, suggest at least a dozen staff members have departed Praxis since its founding, with many staying less than a year. Quote, if they can't maintain office culture, how can they maintain the culture of an entire city, one former employee mused. Brown stands around 5.5 feet tall and pairs his custom Balenciaga suits with thick-soled shoes. Ex-employees note that he is fascinated by Napoleon and keeps a multi-volume biography of the French emperor on his desk inside Praxis's downtown loft on Broadway. In public, Brown can be imprecise about his own ideological orientation. I think that's called hiding your power levels. But the books that he has displayed on social media and that, according to three former employees, he has kept around the office and at his residence suggest an interest in theology, occultism, libertarianism, and proto-fascism. Titles on view in the loft have included a classical text on Roman architecture and a religious work by René Girard, a Catholic Stanford professor who taught Thiel and whom Thiel eulogized at his 2016 memorial service. Brown also had books by Oswald Spengler, a German intellectual who was critical of Nazis once they were in power, but whose work on National Socialism is considered to have influenced their ideology. Two Spengler books, including his Decline of the West, are featured on a reading list for Praxis members. One former employee said he saw Brown reading Last War of the World Island, a geopolitical text by the contemporary Russian fascist Alexander Dugin at the office. Dugin would be disgusted to be described as a fascist. Another saw it on a shelf there. Brown is sensitive to the potential for certain controversial works to create negative perceptions. While two former employees said Brown encouraged staff to read the work of Julius Evola, a fascist Italian writer and occult researcher who worked with a branch of the Nazi SS, one witnessed him dress down staffers after someone left a copy of Evola's Ride the Tiger where it might be spotted by visitors. That text, according to one publisher, identifies the kind of person capable of giving, quote, absolute meaning to life in a world of disillusion while transforming destructive processes into inner liberation, close quote. According to three ex-employees, Brown also kept a private collection of, quote, bad books, as one of those former staffers described them, that he would only share with someone he thought was likely to be on the same ideological page. Brown and at least one other senior Praxis employee were interested in this, quote, strange Nazi occultism. One of those three ex-staff members said, citing the pair's appreciation of Evola, who co-authored another book offering, quote, instructions for developing psychic and magical powers, close quote, according to its contemporary publisher. Scholars have written about Nazi links to Ariosophy, an esoteric ideology blending mysticism, racism, nationalism, and anti-Semitism, and documented the SS's fascination with Norse mythology and Eastern spiritual traditions. If you've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know the Hollywood version. Another of those former employees, also citing Evola, confirmed Brown's interest in the occultist bent of the SS. An internal slideshow briefing staff on the company's brand and philosophy presented Evola's thinking on the four, quote, functional classes, or castes, and suggested the categories should guide the company's recruitment of new members and prospective residents, according to that former worker. Brown's appreciation of the far right extended to other figures, and even his staffing decisions. Brown hired ex-Breitbart writer Mike Mahoney, a one-time member of alt-right provocateur Milo Yiannopoulos' entourage, for an advisory role at Praxis. The Southern Poverty Law Center The Southern Poverty Law Center's Hannah Geis describes Mahoney as, quote, a central figure among some online white power accelerationist communities, end quote, referencing his and his fans' belief that racial conflict is desirable and should be hastened by acts of violence. Anti-fascist activists have chronicled his history of Holocaust denial and racist posting. Under the pen name Mike Ma, he has published novels extolling racism and sexism and featuring vivid descriptions of violence, including scenes of a leftist woman being curb-stomped and a mass shooting at a gay club. Mahoney did not respond to a request for comment. When you're hired, one former employee said, you get a welcome packet with 11 book recommendations. One of them is Bronze Age Mindset, an openly racist and fascist book by the anonymous far-right influencer Bronze Age Pervert that warns of a coming struggle against, quote, the enemies of Western man and the enemies of beauty, end quote. A second former employee said the book was frequently discussed internally, and a third confirmed its presence on the reading list. In his office, Brown keeps a picture of himself with Curtis Yarvin, a former tech executive whose company was funded by Thiel, but who is best known for his neo-reactionary, anti-egalitarian writings. Yarvin has attended Praxis events and stayed in Brown's house for a week at least once, according to two sources. Two of the above former employees said they heard Brown use slurs targeting gay people and those with intellectual disabilities in the office. Oh no! According to one of those ex-staffers, Brown frequently approvingly referenced the bell curve, which notoriously argues that black people are intellectually inferior to whites. Quote, Dryden very strongly believes there is a natural order, and that there's a reason why society looks like it does. In his eyes, it's because God wants it to look that way, that former employee said. He genuinely believed that black people are not as smart as white people. Like any real estate developer, Praxis needs to create a place where people want to live. To that end, Brown has worked to cultivate a community of people perceived as cool and artistic. The reasoning is a version of the gentrification arc common to high-rent neighborhoods that were once home to artists. If trendsetters could be convinced to settle in their brave new world, or at least attend the company's parties, wealthy entrepreneurs involved in tech, crypto, and similar spaces would follow. It was actually a pretty accurate assessment. Part of the company's strategy involves drawing participants to New York's downtown scene to its events in the hope of bringing some on board. Succession actress Dasha Nekrasova, a leading light of the so-called Dime Square set and a co-host of Red Scare, a once socialist podcast that has taken a turn to the right, attended a June black tie banquet at the Yale Club for current and prospective members. Thiel Money has also directly funded downtown events attended by the arty set Praxis is trying to lure. In 2022, BuzzFeed News revealed the billionaire's financial backing of the New People's Cinema Club, which boasted of screening transgressive films without mind to political correctness. Jokes about sloshing Thiel bucks among the anti-woke downtown set have become a meme. In Brown's vision, Thiel's or his associates' money wouldn't just be going to film impresarios or their parties. It would go toward a city where both young neo-reactionaries and their post-left associates might have a hand in forging something tangible, something beyond a podcast or a Substack. Of course, Praxis hasn't done anything tangible, but even if construction never starts, the company's inroads with the scene are another vector for reactionary Silicon Valley perspectives to acquire cultural purchase. Powerful institutions have long seen value in nurturing New York writers and artists as a form of soft power. Historians have unearthed evidence that CIA funds flowed to influential literary magazines like the Paris Review and the Partisan Review, and nurtured the international profile of painters like Jackson Pollock and Mark Rothko. If the interest in Manhattan trendsetters now comes from right-leaning Silicon Valley financiers instead of the American government, the goal is similar: to win a culture war against enemies on the left. 2 days after I got into Praxis's Midtown party, I attended an open house at the company's Soho loft, this time after getting an email approving my entry. I slipped in the door at the same time as three guys who looked to be in their late 20s or early 30s, all wearing boots, tight pants, and white t-shirts, one with Praxis printed on it. Someone pushed the elevator button for the third floor. The doors opened into the loft. Save for some glass-enclosed corner rooms that had an open floor plan. Vaguely Greek columns ran through the space, surrounded by white brick walls and a light hardwood floor. The office seemed opulent for a small startup. A large young man greeted me and took me over to Nikhil Kunapuli, who told me he was Praxis's head of research. What kind of research, I asked. A lot of things, he replied without smiling, before directing my attention to pictures hanging above a massive stack of Praxis swag. The glossy prints of 3D renderings depicted people moving through modernist cityscapes. Kunapuli explained that their future city's government buildings would be designed by the firm of Zaha Hadid, the Pritzker Prize-winning architect who died in 2016. The firm is also contracted to work on Saudi Arabia's NEOM, the kingdom's linear city megaproject. These are all some very interesting connections. The company has scoped a rotating set of possible sites for its city along the Mediterranean shore. Kunapuli told me they were trying to decide between Italy and Morocco. I later heard Montenegro's in the mix. There's trade-offs, Kunapuli acknowledged as we looked at the renderings. Italy is more trusted by Westerners, a place where Praxis's company leaders believe government and industry are more likely to come through on legal contracts, he explained, before conceding the same conditions would make it, quote, harder to influence and change regulations and policies, end quote, than in Morocco. The ultimate decision, Kunapuli said, would be up to what he called the community. He didn't elaborate on exactly who would decide or how. Across the room stood a rolling whiteboard announcing a pull-up challenge with tally marks indicating a person named Sam was winning. Dryden Brown walked out of one corner office and into another. He was wearing all black and his unusually thick-soled shoes. On the other side of the loft, two guys sat on opposite ends of a sprawling piece of modern furniture that was not exactly a couch, but could be most accurately described as one. One of them wore technical pants and a cap with the logo of Urbit, a peer-to-peer networking company founded by Yarvin. The other was in baggy black patterned pants and matching $1,250 Balenciaga bouncer sneakers. They typed and scrolled on their laptops in front of the loft's massive windows. Outside, the sky was thick with an ominous orange haze from wildfires raging in Canada. A lot of people in the office were aimlessly milling around, but when I asked Kunapuli if there were any other Praxis employees I could speak to, he replied, they're unfortunately all busy right now. I shook his hand, thanked him for his time, and headed out onto the street. The sky had turned an even darker shade while I was in the loft. I put on a mask, but the smoke still stung my eyes. A record-breaking heat wave and forest fires would end up hitting the Mediterranean a month later. As best as I could tell, Praxis didn't have a plan to shield its new Gilded Age city from such catastrophes. As it turns out, you can't exit everything. This woman is so upset that the boys are having fun, and she doesn't understand why. She has to come poke around, and they handled her exactly appropriately. Yeah, here, you can walk around. Is there anyone I can talk to? No. You're leaving now? Okay, have a good one. All right. So, let us get started on... I mean, honestly, that was kind of an early celebration of White Boy Summer, I think. But it must continue. You guys have seen this video before, but you must see it again.
I'm going to be 73 in 2 months. Let's see how many pull-ups I can do. And I do them really formal, all the way down, lock out. Otherwise, you just can't compare one person up. Here goes. Let's see how many I can do.
Oh, man. Hitler points. I'm going to keep playing that one periodically for you guys. It's just too good. We have to be reminded of it. Here's another one. Now remember, the rest of these things I'm going to show you guys the rest of this time. This is the theme here is white boys being awesome. Oops. I should probably actually share the page here. No sound? There's no reason that should be the case. I'm waiting to see if someone other than Cooper says that there's no sound. Okay, apparently there's no sound. Let's stop and let's reshare. Okay, share tab audio. All right, let's try this again.
I'm a virgin. Never had sex before. Is there any exercise I could do to help practice for the first time?
Let me know if there's still no sound.
There are some. There's some moves that we could do to help prepare you for your first time.
Okay.
You're going to be grabbing her by the hips and pulling her into you, right? So it's this.
Does she pull back like that,
So
or she
once-
has to put in her for...
She might, for you, she probably is going to be pulling back. Off knees,
Yep, soft
Go out
knees.
wider.
Yep.
Grab the hips.
Grab the hips.
So you got to remember, her hips need to be down here.
Okay.
Right? That's where her hips need to be. That's it. That's a good rep. So she's on top, you're on the bottom. So I need to know when we're loading this machine up, what's your ideal weight of the woman that you're going to be with?
If I say 20 kilos,
Right, I'm going to need some pace here though.
alright, that's 12. 12 pumps.
What are you going to say? All right, get off. It's 12. Well, 2 more minutes before. 2 more minutes. You ain't lasting 2 minutes. 2 more moves. We've got 2 more moves.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, soft knees. Up on our toes.
Other ones were fine. This one is just weird.
Jump up on the treadmill. But the dad has just walked in.
Oh no! Oh no! Now he's after me. Oh no! We're gone.
So start dodging at the same time. So that's sort of how your first time's gonna go. All right, let's go.
You guys can thank my my beloved wife for that one. She sent that to me yesterday. I was cracking up. All right, now this one here. This young man just made a memory for a lifetime, and I love every last little bit of it. I won't spoil it. I'll just play it.
Rodos, brother.
Well, let me tell you.
No, let me tell you something, brother. When you walk in this beat shop, I'm surprised that you still got the shirt on, Jack.
Well, let me tell you something, Hulkster. The first time I met you, I was only 3 years old, but now I'm 6 years old. So now we gotta take it to a bigger level, man. Just like when you press that no good stinky giant over your head and send them right through the cannon in front of 93,000 Hulkamaniacs. So what are they gonna do when the power of the Hulkster and the dual 24-inch pythons run wild on you?
Whoa! Sweet.
Oh man, this kid didn't meet Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan met him. This is White Boy Summer Spirit right here. I never really watched wrestling all that much, so I can't relate personally, and I need to wait a little while before I consider getting my son into it, because we already have issues with him trying to Hulk smash things as it is. I don't think I need to model that for him just yet. I need him to stop trying to Hulk smash the elderly dog, and then maybe we could talk. Here's one for you guys. We've talked about this guy many times. Those of you who are looking for a side hustle, check this out. Oh, just you wait, Taylor Brown. Chris Kerner, back with another one. Alex made $5,000 per month doing these 2 things: posting free ads for garage shelves on Facebook Marketplace, and then building and delivering these on the weekend. Then he quit his job, went all in, and tripled his income. What he did can be copied by anyone. Story time. Alex got this idea after seeing a video of these custom shelves on Facebook. He thought, why not me? So he downloaded the plans, built a set for himself, and then posted his own ad. $200 in materials, $770 for the shelf. $570 gross profit. But then what? He didn't include the cost of the advertising unless he's lumping that into materials, but all the same. So this is the thing he saw. Would be pretty easy to make, honestly. It wouldn't take that much. As long as you have a little workspace here and got a couple tools, you could do this no problem. He didn't even own a truck and had a 9-to-5. Using his neighbor's truck, he'd make deliveries and worked 16-hour days. Then he started an Instagram account and things went off the rails in a good way. One night at midnight, he and his wife opened a spreadsheet and crunched numbers. So here's his video content.
Like summer, and it feels like summer. Feels like summer, and it feels like summer. Oh, there was something in your eyes that made me let go. Made me let go. summer.
How many did they need to sell per week to replace his income? It was doable. He quit his job and went all in. Man, I love typing that out. The rest of the story about how he's scaling, what his processes are, and how others can do the same are in my interview with him below. Enjoy. So he says he doesn't know him personally. He just saw his video on Instagram and DM'd him wanting to hear his story. He didn't pay me and I didn't pay him. We just want to share cool stories. He's got a great YouTube channel to follow. His entire YouTube channel is dedicated to covering unique business ideas and tactical detail on how you can growth hack them all. I've started 75 plus businesses and own 7 now, so I'm not just spouting theory here. I'd appreciate your subscribe below. Go check him out. The Corner Office is a great follow on Twitter. He posts these things all the time. Some of them are like this one here is super attainable, very easy. You could totally see a market for it. I mean, especially as if you're in an area that has a lot of what's the thing I'm thinking of here? Like multifamily housing. This is becoming a thing, whether like extended families all living in one place together, or people that are like renting out rooms in their houses, doing like pad split or that sort of thing. Storage space is at a premium, and if you get a landlord that's gonna have a bunch of short to midterm renters funneling through, if you start cranking these out, go find a Facebook group or something like that. There's tons of Facebook groups. They're always in. They're always swapping recommendations for contractors and neat little tips and tricks and everything. There's a huge market out there for this sort of thing. You could tap into that and you could keep yourself busy for a long time. And they will pay more than $770 for something like this in some cities. Because if their idea is like, I'm going to pay for this once and it's going into a cash flowing property and it's going to facilitate storage space because I'm going to have multiple adults who are all going to live in one area and we need to maximize the storage space there. This sort of thing is absolutely brilliant for that. So if you've got a little bit of know-how, little bit of operating capital, and some elbow grease in you, then you can get started on something like this and get a decent little side hustle going. Okay, it's completely different. This is a very niche interest of mine. Ever since I was in high school, I sang in the men's choir, and I've always been just fascinated by the octavists. These are the guys, like, you've heard of a bass. These guys are like the basses of the bass. So this guy hit one of the lowest notes a human voice can sing. Listen to this shit. Wait. There. That's somewhere in the vicinity of the bottom of the piano, maybe a couple of keys off. I've got my YouTube algorithm now that funnels me these things all the time. And some of these guys they're not at all what you would expect. You see this old guy and you're like, yeah, he's a super deep bass. Okay, I can understand that. But there's some absolutely skinny, twinky little dudes can't even grow any facial hair. They're like 20 years old and they sound like this guy. They're incredibly gifted. It's absolutely remarkable what they can do. And it's really common for the guys that are the lowest basses to actually have a really good upper register as well. So they can sing a lot of tenor solos and still hit shit like this. Elliot Robinson is one really good one. Jeff Castellucci is another one. Peter Barber, Bobby Bass is another guy. There's a whole bunch of them. So if this sort of thing tickles your brain like it does me, then go check them out, and you can hit me up, and I'll send you some recommendations for them. Okay. Again, another white boy maxing out his potential.
Should be ashamed of yourselves. Gas fucking part. Someone like me, I have a love and a loyalty to this country. I wanted to join the Guard. I had that motivation in me. I wanted to join the army. I had that motivation in me to protect and serve. No! The batterings will continue until the plantation is complete. We've already done it once before. The British Empire, 800 years we stood up against them in defiance. Forced plantation, genocided from our own villages, scattered to the four corners of the earth.
Speaking of twinky little dudes, This guy's got some balls on him. My heart goes out to my Mick brethren out there. Stay strong, boys. Good for this dude. This dude actually got more courage in his pinky than any of these faggots out here. Jay Ford says applied to Hadrian. Did you really? Did you actually do that? If you did, I am so excited to hear how this goes. Very much looking forward to this. I hope you're not busting my balls, Jay Ford. That would be awesome. Hell yes, he did it. All right, we're going to require regular updates on how things are going. Okay. This dude is a absolute badass. So this guy, this kid was out hiking with his dad in Alaska and they got attacked by a bear. And this is his response immediately afterwards.
Okay, well, as you can see, we have a brown bear here. We were hiking through some pretty thick grass here. We startled her, or him, I'm not sure. And it came charging at my dad. He made some noise.
And it went to you.
And then it went straight to me. And thankfully, when I was falling backwards, I was able to unsheath my pistol. And when he was on top of me, absolutely unload like a on top of this guy. So did my father. I'm not sure. I did shoot myself in the leg when I was falling backwards. Right here. But it went straight through my leg. I'm not sure if, again, I shot myself when I was falling backwards or the bear got me. I know he did bite into me. I think I felt that, but I'm not 100% sure. We got an SOS out update.
Get the f out of here!
Papa Bear's here. Update, we got military helicopter coming to pick us up. Some PJs. RCC.
Rescue Coordinating Center out of Anchorage.
So, they're coming. And I'll tell you what, I am so happy I had a 10 millimeter. And my dad also had a 40. When I pumped him, I felt him like die on top of me and roll over. That was insane. It's like Gimli and the wargs. Oh my God. That hurts.
It may be starting already. This dude's going to be adrenaline dumping like a motherfucker. He is going to absolutely pass out. He's probably getting nauseated. His hands are shaking like crazy. And he and his dad are going to be tight. If they weren't already, I mean, they're out hiking in the Alaskan wilderness together. They're already obviously pretty tight. They have got a crazy bond now. After that, man, like, whew. Where's that picture of that bear? Man. Imagine having a bear charge you, be on top of you. You're going down backwards. You mag dump into it. Your dad mag dumps into it, and it drops on top of you. It dies on top of you. This is the coolest story of all time. I'm sure it probably is. You can kind of tell that he's like, this is really fucking cool, and also my legs hurt really bad, and my entire body, like every system in my body is spazzing out at the moment. It's incredible the way he's maintained his composure. He's calm, talking calmly, just kind of rehearsing it in his head. This is this would be a dude to hire. If you're looking to hire someone for something, I guarantee you this guy would be a phenomenal worker. He's got some integrity to him. We're going to continue celebrating White Boy Summer here. White Boys are we've taken a lot of slings and arrows lately, and I think we deserve a holiday, an entire summer worth of holidays to celebrate for ourselves, doing shit like this.
It's good. my gosh! Oh, yes! Let's go! Come on! Hey, we gonna go home? Oh, that's a world record. 360 track. Oh, goodgolf.com is where you can get these. Dude, what a day! How far was that? 154 yards. 7 hours I've been here. Come on, kid. You guys, you don't have no idea what this means. It's insane.
7 hours. This is some determination. I've sat here and done this sort of thing, not anywhere near 150 yards and 7 hours. I've done it for like, I don't know, maybe an hour, trying to hit like the longest putt you can possibly hit. It's pretty rare to find a putting green that is actually this large. Man, shout out to these guys. Shout out to my son. Amy says, Eastwood just asked me if I'd miss him if he exploded. White boy summer is generational. Just before she left, she told me she was going to drop him off at the fire station. So they're obviously having a lot of fun this morning. I told her to just make sure she got a receipt. Okay, I've been sitting on this one for a little while trying to figure out the right spot to fit it in here, and this is perfect. I've never seen two stereotypes reinforced simultaneously so thoroughly. I genuinely, by the end of this video, I'm not sure which one's more impressive. You guys tell me what you think.
What fungus do bakers use in bread?
Yeast.
Okay. Beethoven played what instrument?
Piano.
What color is the circle on Japan's flag?
Red.
What language has these letters? Alpha, Omega, Delta.
Greek.
Oh my God.
Probably the easiest one of them all.
What is the major religion in South America?
Christianity.
Are you serious?
That's easy. That was easy.
What term means force per unit area? It's kind of hard.
Pounds per square inch?
Yeah, but that means what? That represents...
I don't know.
Pressure?
Yeah, pressure. 60% of people live in what continent?
Asia.
How are you just thinking this off the top of your head?
Bro, what is another name for the collarbone?
Clavicle.
Oh. What do you call the answer to an addition problem?
Sums.
Oh my God. Who founded Ford Motors?
Henry Ford. I'm in sudden death. If I lose one, I'm so cooked.
Oh my God.
Louis Armstrong was a master in what instrument?
Trumpet.
It hit our hands.
Okay, what's your vote? Which one is more impressive? I think, I got to admit, I think the dude who lost is more impressive. Most of those questions were honestly pretty easy. And this is insane. I can't even fathom being able to jump that high, especially off of sand. It's pretty hard packed, but that's crazy. All right, this one's cheating just a little bit, but I think you guys will give it to me. So Adam Kinzinger was speaking at the DNC, and here's a famous tweet. If you guys remember the Ghost of Kiev, the meme that got him. He says, the Ghost of Kiev has a name, and he has absolutely owned the Russian Air Force. Godspeed and more kills, Samuel. Samuel Hyde, a 36-year-old who was identified as the MiG-29 pilot, accredited with downing 6 Russian jets. You will not believe who tweeted this out. The Trump War Room account. Trump's campaign account said someone should ask crying Adam Kinzinger if he still thinks Sam Hyde is the Ghost of Kiev. We have the Trump campaign account tweeting Sam Hyde memes. And you're blackpilling? What is wrong with you? All right, we got another Trump one here in a minute. We got a JD Vance one. Before that, I don't know if we'll watch this whole thing. It's impressive. It might be worth the full 4.5 minutes. Definitely gets the stream demonetized if it wasn't already. I'm sure that the tech fascism being in the title has it demonetized from the jump. But before YouTube was ruined, you could randomly run across boomer hobbyists doing absurd stuff. and from the hours of 12 to 4:30 a.m. be completely fixated. I have absolutely been here before. Look at this absolute massive legend.
But sometimes I want to go back, a little old school. This is a song called Rhythm of the Night. Gotta work with the funky beat. Oh man, that's not too fast. It's not slow, it's right in the middle. That's why I'm using a 9x6 bag. A song like that, I don't want to use an 8x5 because I barely have to touch it to really hit to that song. So I changed to a little bit larger bag, make it a little bit more physical, but this size bag really fits a middle speed song like that. You always want to try to match the bag to the song that you're hitting. It's 9x6. If I tried to use this as some really fast bluegrass, couldn't handle it. It just, the bag, I couldn't get it going that fast. Some people could, but I couldn't.
Absolute madman. The greatest thing about this is he would be doing this on a live stream with one viewer, and he'd be happier than a pig in shit. This is the thing he looks forward to all day at work. He's on the job like as construction manager or something like that, finance guy maybe, and he's looking forward to getting home and fucking punching a bag and listen to some music. And he's going to live stream it to anybody who wants to listen, and he's got it broken down. He's got a system. He might have a spreadsheet somewhere. Absolute mad lad. You guys' comments were cracking me up. Cooper said that he was a little off, and I think Jay Ford nailed it. He said his punches are on point, but the slapping of the bag sounds off. I can't even imagine the coordination it would take to be able to actually make the slapping of the bag. So you have to be just before the beat consistently and maintain that. That was an absolute flow state. Taylor said that his daughter was dancing to it, so I had to let the whole thing play. Okay, we got a comparison between Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos here. Them explaining rocket engines. Who do you believe truly understands the technology and who just repeated what was in the engineer's manual? Share your thoughts.
So the start sequence for Raptor is insanely complicated compared to the start sequence for Merlin.
It has to be perfectly precise because each one relies.
Basically, you're doing this delicate dance between the fuel power head and the oxygen power head, and if they get out of sync, then you can go stoichiometric in the preburners and melt or explode the preburners. Yeah. So starting an engine like this is very complex. Once it's running, it's a much easier situation. But that if you get anything wrong with that start sequence, you're either going to melt or explode the engine.
Well, I finally understand too. Once it's running and in a steady state, you know, the advantage of full flow becomes pretty obvious. Just looking at the enthalpy.
So the start sequence for Raptor is insanely complicated.
Shut up. That last video we just watched, this is Elon's version of that. This is what Elon's doing for fun.
This is the high energy, hot hydrogen gas coming in.
Yep.
And it passes through. This is the hydrogen pump up here.
Yep.
And so it passes through the hydrogen turbine. And then right here is the aux turbine. This is the aux pump. And what's very clever, it's a very clever little detail. The two turbines rotate in opposite directions. One of the waste products of flowing through a turbine is that your turbine exhaust, always has a little rotational component.
Yeah.
That rotational component is wasted.
Right.
So there's energy in that rotation which you wish you could capture.
Right.
But you can't, except
if you
have a second turbine and you rotate it in the opposite way, it gets to capture the waste energy of the first turbine. This can actually get you a few points of efficiency.
Wow.
See, I think the caption on here honestly isn't all that fair, because I followed them both about equally, and they both seem to have a pretty good understanding of the details of it. There's something about Jeff Bezos that just makes me want to like him. I don't know what it is. It might be the kind of the makeover that he's gone through, and him just like being the billionaire who genuinely just seems to enjoy the life of a billionaire, and
insanely complicated.
He seems to be in this out of his own personal interest and fascination in a lot of the same way as Elon, even if he's not a Spurg in the same way as Elon. And I say that with great love and affection. Okay, all right. Here we got another white boy win. Trump did a flyover of his North Carolina rally. Imagine this. This would be so cool to witness in person. How much do you want to bet that Trump was at the window waving? Was actually at whatever window he was nearest, that he was actually out there waving as they went over. I would bet every dollar I've ever made that he actually was. All right. We've got 3 more here. 3 more, and we're going to round it off. One of these is funny, one of them is serious, and one of them is inspiring. So here's JD Vance out among the people Autism Capital says the best part of this forced interaction is the staff is like, "What do you want?" And JD Vance is so over it at that point. He's basically like, "I don't know, man. Some glazed donuts, some sprinkle shit, maybe some cinnamon rolls, whatever works."
The zoo has come to town. Thank you for letting us come in here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man. Okay, yeah. She doesn't want to be on film, guys, so just cut her out of anything. Appreciate that, man. I'm JD Vance. I'm running for vice president. Good to see you.
Okay.
How long have you worked here?
I've been here since the beginning of July.
Okay.
For this year.
Okay, good. How about you, sir?
Almost 2 years.
Okay, good. Just everything, yeah. I mean, a lot of glazed here, some sprinkle stuff, some of these cinnamon rolls, whatever makes sense. How long has this place been around?
About 4 years.
About 4 years? Okay. How long have you been here?
A little over 6 months.
Okay, good. The zoo has come to town. Thank you for letting us come.
I don't know how you dislike the guy. I don't know how you possibly dislike him. He is so personable. He's like personable and nice to a fault in his like little interpersonal casual interactions like this. I don't know how you could possibly rally negative emotion about him. The great thing about it too is that this is how he is. Like he can just kind of hobnob with the people, and he's very just kind of very down to earth, very grounded, very normal, but he's actually a pretty savvy political operator. He's a he kind of gives off this sort of aloof, kind of little doofy, just kind of down to earth, easygoing guy. Very personable. It would be easy to just kind of have a conversation with and chat about the weather and when you're in the elevator or something like that. But he knows how to get down and dirty in the back rooms, if you know what I mean. And I'm not talking about the type of backroom activities that typically happen on Capitol Hill. This one here this is great. I need to speed this video up a little bit. It's a little long, 6.5 minutes. John Rich. I just started the conversation with John Rich and Tucker Carlson, where they have a long conversation about dispensationalism. I've heard very good things about it. I've never really followed John Rich all that closely. He kind of falls into a certain archetype for me that I'm not all that inclined to take seriously. But he had a conversation with Jordan Peterson, and he kind of started going a little hard in the paint here. I will always have a soft spot for Jordan Peterson. I pray for him often, and he's obviously a very tormented man. And I got a ton of respect for John Rich, the way he handled this whole interaction here.
Hey, it's not a metaphor, and it's not intellectualism. Like when you die and you see him, what's he going to say to you? What are you going to say to him? I mean, that's the ultimate question that everybody watching this interview is going to have to deal with. Everybody. It says every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Every knee, including John Rich and Jordan Peterson and the devil himself and everybody else. Every knee is going to have to bow. And so whether you believe that or not doesn't change the fact that that is what is going to happen. And I happen to believe, because it says in the scripture, that the Lord reveals himself to every man. Every man knows it. He says, I stand at the door and knock. And if any man hears my voice and opens the door, I'll come in with him, I'll sit down with him, I'll dine with him, I'll have dinner with him, and he with me. And so you hear him knocking on that door, and you walk up, you open it, and you let him in. That is what that means. You have invited him into your house. Let's call your body, this is my house. I invite him in, he sits down, he's living in my house now. That's what that means. It also says he won't knock forever. He will not knock forever. If you reject him,
you said you experienced that. You experienced that when you felt abandoned.
Yep. He won't knock forever. At some point, if you reject him long enough, it says he'll just turn you over to your desires. You go, well, we gave it a good shot. Move on. And brother, you don't want to get to that point. So anybody watching this, if you feel him knocking at the door, open the door. It's very simple. You don't need a preacher. You don't need a priest. You don't need anybody to sit down with to give your life to Jesus and go to heaven. You don't need anybody. You can sit there all by yourself, and you can reach out to him, and you can give your life to him right there anytime you want to. That's one problem with religion. You've used the word religious about me. There's nothing religious about me. Religion, in my opinion, has built these constructs where they make people think you have to go confess your sins to this person, or you have to go through a preacher, you have to go through some other earthly sinful human being. I mean, tell me where it says that anywhere. It doesn't say that anywhere. That's their way of keeping people under control, making them come through those doors. They think if they don't do it that way, then they're not going to get there. And that's another one of the big deceptions that are out there. That's why I don't like that whole notion of religion. Jesus was not a religious person. The religious people persecuted Jesus back in the day. So it's important for people to know these distinctions. I mean, you can have one-on-one with him. He's right there. He's literally right there. It's as simple as that. We don't have to intellectualize everything about him and try to figure out every single nook and cranny of every single word that he said. Just go look at what he said. He made it real simple. And again, we're all going to have to go to that point. Everybody's going to die. Everybody. And the second you die, it says to be absent from the flesh is to be present with God. Like, boom, just like that. And you're standing in front of the boss. And what are you going to say to him? What's he going to say to you? That's the only conversation any human being should be concerned about.
John, that's probably a good time to end this part of the conversation. I wanted to talk to you about the meaning of the lyrics that you wrote down in this song, but I think we'll do that on the Daily Wire side, because that'll be a good additional half an hour, and this is actually a very good time to end. And so I guess what I would say in closing to what you said is that obviously you have a specific idea about what constitutes faith and your faith, and you use the metaphor of the driver to lay that forward. And that seems to me to be a very good representation of what constitutes faith, because it does come down to, let's say, who you invite in to take charge.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
And that's not the same as stating words of faith. Right.
Correct.
So
that's the whole point.
A good thing.
Doctor, that's the whole point. You said the whole point right there. Exactly right.
Yeah, well, that's what do you say? That's the
truth.
Protection against religious hypocrisy as well. You know, part of the reason I'm loath in many ways to talk directly about what I believe, let's say, is because I'm not really that interested in taking credit for what I believe. You know what I mean? For me, it's something to kind of hold secret, because it's not for public display. Because the problem with public display is that that's the pathway of the Pharisees. And so it's dangerous to pray in public and to make your case known in the streets, let's say. So but it does say, and I know you want to wrap up, so obviously we will, but it does say, go out and preach the gospel to every nation, every human being out there. And now what the Pharisees and Sadducees did was look how holy we are. We're giving all this money. Look at us. We're so benevolent. We're so holy. It says, give your gifts in secret. That's what it's talking about. When you make a donation or you help somebody, don't advertise it all over the world. He doesn't appreciate that. But when it talks about go out and tell everybody about the truth of who I am and what the Bible says and what the stakes are, the eternal stakes out here, you are supposed to go say that. And let me tell you something, Doctor.
That body language, right? Where was it? Right about here.
Go out and preach the gospel to every nation, every human being out there. And now what the Pharisees and Sadducees did was look how holy we are. We're giving all this money. Look at us. We're so benevolent.
Hanging his head. I think that was a reflexive reaction there, because what he was saying before that is very obviously cope. Jordan Peterson is obviously wise enough to know that he's holding on to this edifice of cope. Oh, well, I don't want to make any public proclamations because this is a private, personal thing. You know, he knows this is bullshit. He's coping, and I got a lot of respect for John Rich calling him on it right away and doing it. Like the whole conversation is very interesting. There's a lead in of maybe another 5 minutes or so of the conversation before this clip picks up, and Jordan Peterson's whole demeanor changes pretty significantly throughout it. He's lined up to have one of his deep intellectual conversations, which I appreciate. I've gained a lot of value from them and everything, but he obviously uses that as a crutch. And he's put himself into this character that he has to occupy this character, and he can't get too deep and personal about this sort of stuff. And like Jay Ford here said about John Rich, he said a little cringe, but his heart's in the right place. And that's exactly what I mean here. Obviously I could go on for a long time about his theology, but he's obviously sincere, he's genuine, and he's bold about it. And he felt impressed that he needed to make it uncomfortable and put Jordan on the spot. And you could tell that it hit home. Ian Carroll says, as a psychology undergraduate, he's much more ingrained in the academic purview and probably is wrestling with the fact that faith stifles some of the ideals of academia and psychology. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He's had some very deep spiritual experiences that he doesn't want to, that's just what I've gleaned from following him for years now, that he doesn't want to fully own up to. And he's a very spiritually tormented man. I think it's in pretty bad taste that all the people that shit on him, I understand where they're coming from. I understand their critiques. And I don't think their critiques are wrong, but I think it's very obvious that this is an extremely tormented man who needs our prayers far more than he needs our scorn and abuse. All right. No better way to end this celebration of White Boy Summer, midway through the summer, end of the week, It's Friday. No better way to celebrate it, to send you guys off than the best clip of all.
When they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again. When they took a shot,
we're gonna watch it one more
at
time.
My hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough, and I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
Alrighty, guys. Have a great weekend. Kingpill.com. Sign up. Join the Kingpill Discord. We're going to be doing the Schizo stream tonight at about 8 p.m. Central. We're going to be talking our ancestry. We're going to be comparing our 23andMe's, seeing who's his biggest. And then we're going to talk about some other schizo stuff, maybe terrain theory or weird schizo quantum math shit. Either way, we'll have a great time. Use those as jumping off points. We'll probably be talking late into the night. So I'll see you guys on Monday. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. And follow me on Twitter @RealKingPilled.